I've now had this guy for a few weeks. I've done short runs, I've done long runs, I've even gone all the way up to lactate threshold pace in this, which I don't recommend, but I've gotten a lot of experience with the shoe and I'm gonna share all of that with you in this video. So today I'm gonna dive into the midsole, the ride, the upper, the fit, the overall general vibe and experience of the shoe. I'm gonna let you know how it compares to some of the popular max cushion shoes on the market, and I'm gonna let you know who it's going to be best for. Alright guys, before we get into it today, if you haven't checked out the running shoe matcher tool yet, go to runningshoematcher.com. This is a really cool tool I built that matches you with the best shoe for you based on your goals and preferences. So you answer 5 questions. What kind of shoe are you looking for? Do you want a daily trainer, a tempo shoe, or a race day shoe? Do you like your shoes soft or firm? And we will match you with the best shoe for you. So it's live right now and it's free. You can check it out at runningshoematcher.com and I'll put a link in the description below. Alright, let's get into it. A quick overview of the New Balance Fresh Foam X 1080 V13. This is New Balance's premier training shoe. On their website, they say if we only made one shoe, it would be the 1080. I look at the shoe as like an updated version of the 990, kind of a spiritual successor to everything that shoe offered back in the 90s when it first came out. Some structure, some mild stability, and a nice cushioned everyday running experience. Now, while New Balance says if they only made one shoe, it would be this, I would not classify this as a typical daily trainer. For me, this is more of a recovery shoe, a relaxed running shoe. I think that's gonna depend on your pace, on your goals, where you're at in your training. For me, I prefer lower stacked and slightly firmer shoes for daily training, but for some context, I run about a 119 half marathon, and that would convert to about a 250 something marathon. So depending on where your fitness is at and how you like to run for everyday miles, this could be a daily trainer for you. But for faster runners, this is likely going to be a recovery shoe, and it's most definitely a comfort-oriented shoe. So in terms of the specs, this comes in at 9.2 ounces for that US men's sample size 9, which is heavier than daily trainers, which are typically in that 8 ounce to high 8 ounce range, but is right down the middle of that max cushion recovery segment, even a bit on the lighter side. You do see some max cushion shoes at 10 ounces or above. That's a 38 millimeter heel stack and a 32 millimeter forefoot stack for a 6 millimeter drop. Now this is a neutral running shoe, so it doesn't have any elements added to prevent overpronation, but it is a shoe with some decent elements of inherent stability, which we'll get into in the ride section. So the midsole here is New Balance's Fresh Foam X. Now this is an EVA compound. EVA is the most common, classic, typical running shoe foam. It's in compounds like the Saucony Power Run, it's in the Brooks Ghost. It's that classic running shoe feel, which is slightly firm, slightly responsive, but in here it's an EVA blend, which is pretty soft. You'll see if I do the little push test here, my finger can get pretty deep into the midsole. And with this stack of 38 millimeters in the heel and 32 millimeters in the forefoot, the Fresh Foam does a great job at absorbing a lot of the impact you're gonna get from that pounding on the pavement. Now the midsole does not have a huge rocker geometry. That is one of the key differences with this compared to something like the Saucony Triumph or the Saucony Endorphin Shift. Even if we're looking at the Asics Gel-Nimbus 25, this is gonna have less of a rocker. You can see the platform is a bit flatter. There is a slight little rocker up here, little rolling sensation, but nothing too much. If we're looking at the realm of max cushion shoes, this is going to be one of the most traditional midsole setups out there. In terms of the ride, this is a really soft experience. Now, it's not going to be as soft as that Asics Gel-Nimbus. What I loved about it is it felt nice and comfortable out of the box. There was no break-in required. As soon as I slipped these on in the store, I knew it was going to be a really awesome, plush, comfy, protected experience. This is most definitely going to be a relaxed cruiser. I did not like to pick up the pace in this at all. Like I mentioned, I did go all the way down to 540 minutes per mile in this, which is my lactate threshold pace. At that pace, yes, you can do it. It does have some nice bounce to it when you push it, but it just doesn't feel like a fast shoe should feel with this max stack of nice soft foam. I would much rather use a shoe like the New Balance Rebel V3 or the Hoka Mach 5 or one of those plated trainers like the Speed 3 or the Adidas Boston 12 if I were doing any type of speed work. The fastest I would really want to take this on a regular basis is probably marathon pace. You could get away with throwing in a mile there, or if you're doing an easy run and fast finishing at marathon pace, this is a good option. But if you have a long run where you're gonna have any sections of race pace in there, especially if you're a 3:30 or below marathon runner, I would not suggest using this as your go-to long run shoe. If you already have a daily trainer or you already have a plated shoe, a race day shoe, why would you use this as that long run shoe? That's the main thing, right? If you're gonna get this shoe, it's gonna be best as that relaxed shoe in your rotation. You don't need to use it as a fast shoe. So So the upper on this thing is super soft, super comfortable. You can see up close this material here. It's a sort of knit material. It's a nice upper. It's also very well designed. You'll see these little dark blue details here. And this heel collar is extremely padded. Now I've been running in this as well as the Adidas Boston 12. Those are the two new shoes that I picked up after my last half marathon, after my goal race. And just comparing the uppers on this, they're completely different experiences, right? That Adidas Boston 12 has absolutely no padding around the heel collar here. So this thing is gonna be just much more comfortable than a lot of the shoes on the market. I love that they've added all this padding, especially around the back, because this Achilles area is an area where a lot of runners get some irritation with shoes that don't have that padding. Around the back here, you'll see there's some sort of a plastic stabilizing piece in here. Nice and hard, nice and structured around this back so you won't be wiggling around. I found the lockdown and fit to be absolutely perfect. I did go half a size up in this. I wouldn't suggest that. I did it because I wanted to give my toes a little bit more room. Running in a lot of Saucony shoes earlier this year just did a number on the outside of my feet, so I've been trying to correct that by giving my toes a little bit more room than they probably need. I didn't have any issues with hot spots in this or irritation. It's also not a warm upper like we're seeing in the Gel-Nimbus. That is a shoe where I ran a lot in the 80-90 degree weather, and the entire upper area of that shoe would warm up. This does not have the same feeling. Although it is a knit material that looks like your grandmother knit a sweater, it's not gonna have a hot sensation to it. It's very breathable, which is perfect for running in all seasons. Another thing I love about this upper and fit is that the laces are super soft, so you can pull them down as tight as you need to and they're not gonna dig into your feet. I found with a lot of these recent shoes that come out, brands try to do weird things with the laces. We don't need any lace innovation, dear running shoe brands. No lace innovation, okay? Just get a nice pair of soft, stretchy laces like New Balance has done here and call it a day. Last thing I want to mention here is the midfoot felt nice and generous for me. I know that's an area where some runners have issues, especially like in that Saucony Triumph, the midfoot is super narrow. No issues here. I have a narrow to maybe slightly wide midfoot, but in general, the fit of this was absolutely perfect from the heel lockdown to the midfoot, all the way up to the toe box. All right, guys, heading down to the outsole. Now, I was ranting to my wife about how I was right about my outsole prediction here in the first video I did on the shoe, and I was like, she didn't care about this. Let me save it for the video. So this is the video I get to rant for you now. If you look at the outside, you'll see that because they chose to use this design where they're using pods of rubber, instead of just doing a nice full strip of rubber that covers the entire foam area, you are getting some foam degradation on this exposed foam. Now, this is an extremely high wear area for any heel striker out there. And so having this foam already be chipping away at only, I don't know, 50 miles is a little bit concerning. I'm not sure if it will affect the performance of the shoe in the long term. Probably not, but still, guys, come on, like, go for function over form. That's why New Balance is a great brand. Most of the time they do prioritize function over adding weird aesthetic flares. That is the one area that they got it wrong. Now, in terms of other areas of the rubber here, you are seeing some discoloration, but with 50 miles in it, you're not gonna see a whole lot of wear and tear on the rubber. I think this will hold up okay. Compared to some of the other New Balance shoes I've had out there, this is pretty standard. What I found with these New Balance shoes is they tend to get a lot of visible wear within the first 30 to 60 miles, and then it kind of evens out for the rest of the life of the shoe. Alright guys, now I want to get into some quick comparisons here. I did do full videos comparing this to the Gel-Nimbus and the Triumph, which I'll link in the description below, but I'll do just a minute overview on this against the Triumph, Shift, and Nimbus so you can get a snapshot of what I said in those videos. So against the Gel-Nimbus, the 1080 is going to be a little bit more responsive, a little lighter weight on the foot, and just all around easier to navigate. If I had to choose one of these shoes as a do-it-all type of shoe, I would definitely go with the 1080. Now, like I mentioned, it's not my favorite to use soft shoes like this as a daily trainer, but this is much more of a viable daily trainer for most runners than the Nimbus here. The Nimbus in general is a more versatile shoe. It doesn't have as much of a soft sinking feeling in as the Nimbus, and I also think this foam is going to hold up a little bit better in the long term. This Nimbus was perfect for me through, let's say, 200 miles. It did have a little bit of bounce and responsiveness to it, but after I crossed that 250 mile mark, it just started getting a quicksand feeling where it felt like my feet were sinking in as I ran along in it. I also think the 1080 is going to be a little bit better for standing on your feet all day, just because it's a flatter platform. You're not going to get that sinking in feeling, and again, it feels like a little bit more of a natural shoe than the Nimbus. Now, if you do just want max stack, ultimate comfort, to be super wrapped up in a marshmallowy feel, then the Nimbus is the shoe for you. But if you want something that can do walking, that can do running, that could maybe do gym work, that can be retired as a casual shoe after you're done running in it, then the 1080 is gonna be the good shoe for you. Alright guys, next up here I have the Saucony Triumph. Now these ones are in a dead tie to me in terms of which one I like more. Now the advantages of the 1080, it's a little bit softer, it's a little bit more relaxed, it doesn't have as much of a rocker, so I think this is actually a better recovery shoe than the Triumph. However, the Triumph has a bouncier foam, it's a little bit more energetic, and when you do want to pick up the pace and push it, the Triumph responds better than the 1080 does. So if you were looking for a long run shoe where you might want to do some marathon pace in there, do a little bit of pickups, I think the Triumph takes the cake there. However, if you want that relaxed everyday running shoe for those easy aerobic miles, for those slow recovery runs, 2 to 2.5 minutes slower than marathon pace, then I go for the 1080. I also think the 1080 here takes it in terms of style. I would not be seen walking around in the Triumph with a pair of my Lululemon chinos on, but I would do that with the New Balance 1080. Alright guys, last comparison here, we have the Saucony Endorphin Shift 3. So the Shift 3 is going to be a much firmer, also much more rockered shoe than the New Balance 1080. This is probably the most viable daily trainer of the bunch. While it does have close to a 40mm heel stack, it has a ton of stability due to this plastic clip in the back, and because it's using this Power Run EVA foam, it's gonna be a bit firmer and faster, therefore, than the 1080. So if you're looking for a daily trainer and you don't want something super soft, then the Shift takes the cake. I will say I did not love taking this more than 10 miles, the Saucony Endorphin Shift 3 that is, just because I prefer a little bit more of a softer feeling on those easy aerobic base building long runs. If you're looking for a long run shoe only, I'd go for the 1080. If you want a daily trainer that can handle some workouts, that can handle some strides, I would go for the Saucony Endorphin Shift 3. Alright guys, so in terms of who the 1080 is going to be best for, this is a great shoe if you want a nice relaxed running shoe that can handle daily slow miles as well as recovery running efforts. It's not going to be an aggressive shoe, it's not going to be a fast shoe, but if you are diving into another marathon training block for spring and want something that can handle, that phase 1 period of training where you're ramping up your mileage, you're getting into that high area, you're going to be running 10 miles 3 days a week or 8 miles 3 days a week and want something that you're going to be excited to put on to run in comfort, 1080 is one of the best choices on the market for that right now. At $165, it is a little bit more expensive than what we're seeing out there, but I think that's just because it's the most recently introduced shoe. It's that inflation premium, so it's $5 more expensive than the Nimbus. Well, actually $45 now because the Nimbus got a discount, and it's $5 more expensive than the Saucony Triumph. Now the Nimbus got a discount because the Nimbus 26 is coming out soon, but I'm not sure that the changes in that are gonna make it any better than what we're seeing in the 1080 V13. So as of now, this is my favorite recovery running shoe on the market, and it's the one that I will recommend until something knocks it off its perch. However, if you need stability or you don't like soft shoes at all, I would check out the Saucony Endorphin Shift 3. You can find that one on sale for under $100, but for most other runners, for neutral runners who like a soft feeling shoe, check out the 1080 V13. All right guys, there you have it. Those are my thoughts on the New Balance 1080 V13. Let me know in the comments below how you're feeling about the shoe. Let me know if you have any questions on my experience with the shoe so far. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing, and I'll be back tomorrow with another video.